Smile now. Good afternoon and welcome to Radio Row live in Los Angeles. I'm your host, Kayla Bredham, with my co-host, Roy Kessel, here today to speak with Ryan Lavarnway. Now, Ryan, Major League Baseball, Olympian, and they just so happen to make a documentary about you too? Holy smokes. Tell us about how that got started.
When we made the World Baseball Classic after the 2017 qualifier, they decided to take us to Israel, a country that none of us had ever been to, but we were representing in this tournament. And they filmed a documentary about it. And it was really about kind of visiting this holy place for the first time and seeing what we were playing for. But then they followed us to the tournament, and we were this unbelievable Cinderella story that nobody really expected us to do very well. They actually called us the Jamaican bobsled team of baseball, where we were the wannabes, has-beens, and never-weres. And all of a sudden, we beat the number 3, 4, 5, and 9 teams in the world, and kind of shocked everyone, where they counted us out, and we did better than anyone expected. But we believed in ourselves the whole time. So it's a great movie if you haven't had a chance to see it.
I have to say it sounds like a great movie. I already like where you're going, but you said Jamaican bobsled team, so we have to shout out our good friend Michael Blair, one of the original Jamaican bobsledders. Michael, if you're watching this, hey, from the Super Bowl, we wish you were here. Tell me more about being a kid and just really finding your love and passion for the game.
I started playing baseball when I was 5. My kindergarten teacher said I was bad at sharing and I should get into team sports. So my parents took me out to the baseball field, and I loved it right away. There's something about being outside, being with your teammates, and playing together, doing this thing that you love as a group, and playing for something bigger than yourselves that meant so much to me, and it means so much for me to share it and to pay it forward to the next generation.
That's awesome. I know Roy wants to ask a question, but before he does, I have a question for you. Major League Baseball, I'm passionate about what that looks like, whether it's the minor leagues, the major leagues. What did that path look like? Who did you play for? How did you end up in the Olympics? Just give me all of it, okay?
Well, it's kind of a long story for a short podcast. I played in high school. I was not the best player on my team. It's kind of a long story. And when I got to the varsity team my senior year, there was a life-changing moment where my coach was asking who was going to hit 4th on our high school team. And I knew it wasn't going to be me because I was not our best player. But being a 17-year-old smart aleck, I said, well, why not me, coach? And he looked at me, instead of telling me, it's going to be Casey, it's going to be Sammy, it's going to be this guy, it's going to be that guy. He gave me the answer of, why not you? And that conversation seeped into my subconscious, and it really raised my expectation of, like, what is possible? And it was moments like that. I've had different moments throughout my career where I had that in high school. I had another one in college and another one in the minors that have really allowed me to expand what I even thought I would be able to do and to make it to the majors with the Boston Red Sox in 2011. I won the World Series with them. I got my ring on today for this event. Made it to the Olympics, which is crazy because for most of my life and my career, baseball wasn't even in the Olympics. So again, it's really important to me, the leadership lessons that I've learned along the way. I want to pass them on to the next generation and show people that anything that you think is possible, if you have a seemingly impossible dream, you could do it.
Roy?
Yeah, I think what I love about the way you touched on that is we talk often about the importance of coaching and how that one person that reaches out at a certain time in a young athlete's life can be the difference between them loving sports, quitting sports, having great success. When you listen to Hall of Fame speeches in any sport, you hear the stories where somebody was literally one step from going off track, and somebody figuratively or literally pulled them by the back of the shirt and said, you know, you're better than that, you can do more. Talk about some of the coaching that you had, and beyond the coaches, who else influenced you in that way?
So that's exactly, I love the question you asked. I love the way you phrased it. In my professional career, I have been sent down from the major leagues, traded, or outright released 23 times. There's been 23 times where my dream came true and I was one of the best in the world, and they said, you're not good enough, you're not on the team anymore. And kind of like that Rocky Balboa speech in the movie where he talks about, you get knocked down 7 times, you get back up 8. I've been sent down 23 times and I've got back up 23 times so far. I'm looking for number 24. There have been so many coaches, and I think it's important to kids to understand you need to be coachable. If you have these moments where you're not the best player on the team, or even if you are, if you're not doing the things that you need to be doing and your coach is trying to help you, that is where all coaches are coming from. Whether you have a great coach, a Hall of Fame coach like Terry Francona, Buck Showalter, who I've been lucky enough to play for, or you have a dad who has a 9-to-5 job and he goes out there, he's there to help you. And he's there giving you everything he's got for you as a player. So any little kid that's listening, any high school player that's listening right now, understand that your coaches want what's best for you. And if they're trying to encourage you or they're kicking you in the butt because you need a little encouragement from that way, one of the best conversations I ever had was when I was in single A and I was playing maybe 3 or 4 days a week, but not every day like I wanted to. And I asked my coach, I was crying. I said, I want to play more. I want to get to the major leagues. What can I do? And he told me, you're not good enough to play every day right now. Some of these pitchers that throw 97 mile per hour sinkers or they have a nasty slider, if I put you in the game every day, you're going to get exposed. And that was such a reality check for me that I needed to hear. It wasn't comfortable to hear, but it was what I needed to hear, because then I started working that much harder every single day, one-on-one with that coach. And he didn't just tell me you're not good enough. He then took his time to help me become good enough. And that's how I got to the major leagues.
So you talk about becoming good enough, and I love that, Ryan. Okay. And one of the things that I want to ask you in just a moment is what you're doing now to help others become good enough. But before I do that, I want to back up just a little bit. Okay. So something I'm really passionate about. A lot of the listeners on my podcast know that as a little girl, I was the girl who wanted to play baseball, but had to play softball, right? And, not being good enough. And that's what a lot of these young girls and women are being told. You're not good enough. You can't compete, right? What is your message, Ryan, to women and girls in sport?
The first thing I would say is that if you are good enough, don't let anyone tell you you're not. In addition to girls being told that, another example is left-handed catchers. People tell them you can't catch because there hasn't been a left-handed catcher since the 80s play in the major leagues. And at some point you're going to have to stop, so you might as well stop sooner. I say if you love it, do it. If you're good enough, you're good enough. There's pictures of Kobe Bryant playing with grown men when he was 12 years old because he was good enough to play there. When I was growing up, we had a girl on our all-star team every year. Her name was Samantha Martyr. And now I know she's a college Division I softball coach now. What's up, Sam, if you see this? But she was good enough to play with us almost until high school. And she probably could have kept going if she had been allowed and if she had been encouraged. And we talked before we got on air about Justine Siegel, who's doing very cool things with including women in sports, and how I was with the Marlins when they hired the first ever woman GM in the major leagues. And now there's a laundry list of women who have coaching roles in Major League Baseball. And I am all for it. I think it's super cool. I don't think there's any reason why it can't keep growing and being more inclusive.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you brought up all of the women in sports and the challenges that have been there, because we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of Title IX this year. And we talk about the changes, right? So there's certainly been improvement. I don't think we've seen 50 years worth of improvement, and would certainly like to see that accelerate. But, when you went through the process, I'm interested to kind of change direction a little bit and talk about Team Israel and how you got involved with that.
Team Israel was this opportunity of a lifetime that I never saw coming. Like, baseball was not even in the Olympics for the first 13 years of my career, really. And Israel was a country that I had never been to. My mom is Jewish. My dad is Catholic. I was connected to religions a little bit, but I didn't have deep ties to my own Judaism until I played for Team Israel. And because I played for the team, because I went to Israel, and I really learned what was going on with the heritage and the connection, and I felt a connection to the Jewish community, I have kind of had a spiritual revolution within myself and become much more connected to the religion and to the community. And now I'm very proud to be Jewish. My wife is Jewish. We have a Jewish home in Colorado. But it's something that I wasn't super connected with early in my life. And I go to universities. I'm actually flying to Atlanta tomorrow morning to speak to Emory University students, who it's a predominantly Jewish campus, about my experience of finding myself through participation in something bigger than me. And it's something, again, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian, whatever you believe in, if you can go out and participate and be in a community, and that's what's so great about sports, be involved in something bigger than yourself, and it will give you a sense of belonging.
I think it's a great point when you talk about how you got involved, and one of the great things from the documentary was seeing the different backgrounds that everybody came from, because it was really a group that was not a cohesive group, right? You brought people together from all kinds of different backgrounds and levels of experience. So talk a little bit about that process of how everything gelled and sort of the experience of going to Israel.
In addition to us all kind of being an eclectic group, to say the least, the other thing that we all had in common was that we all felt like we had been overlooked and undervalued. So we had a collective chip on our shoulder as a group, as baseball players, but also that's something that's kind of common in Judaism is that we feel like we're undervalued. We're not going to get into that totally the religious side of it right now, but as a group, we felt like we had more to give than people were giving us credit for. So we believed in ourselves. People called us has-beens, wannabes, and we said we're going to go out there, we're going to give it our best, and we're going to shock the world.
That bit. Number one, what do you want to be remembered for? What's the legacy that you're leaving, that you're creating? What are you passionate about when it comes to charity and community and things like that?
I'm really passionate about paying it forward. And again, I was so lucky to have the opportunity to be coached and to be shown what is possible. I want to show other people what's possible for themselves. I had a speech yesterday at a high school leadership conference where I basically said, if you have crazy dreams, good, go out and accomplish them, because crazy dreams is what this country was founded on. That's what the world needs. And if anybody tells you you can't, don't listen to that person. If anyone tries to shrink what you think is possible, forget about them. They're not in your support system. Think about what you want to accomplish, and then think about what's even bigger and crazier and more impossible than that, and go get that.
Well, as the saying goes, with with Eretz Yisrael, right? If you will it, it is no dream. And so, going back to that, you look at Team Israel and what it accomplished, and obviously the cancellations of the Olympics, and then doing it all a year later. Talk about that whole process and what the team went through.
You talk about overachieving. Israel is a country that has one baseball field. Israel is a country that is smaller than the state of New Jersey, was ranked number 42 in the world when I first got involved with it, and got into a tournament that is for the best 6 teams in the world. When kids want to make it to the major leagues, you talk about the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. Why can't it be you? And I'm going to look directly into the camera for this, because if you're watching this, I'm talking directly to you. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you can't say out loud to people because they don't believe in you and they think you're crazy? Do it. There's no reason you can't.
Ryan, that's super inspiring. And I just, first of all, want to say thank you, because that's a message I think everybody needs to hear, whether you're 5 or 500. That's the word, right? I know that a lot of people are going to be watching this and listening, and they're like, whoa, I want to go follow Ryan. I want to connect to Ryan. If people want to find you on social media or reach out to you about coming to their program, school, university, workplace to speak, how can people get a hold of you?
I respond to messages I get on Instagram, Lavarnway, on Twitter at Ryan Lavarnway. A lot of the speeches that I've given, the reason I'm going to Emory is someone reached out to me on Instagram. I spoke at Syracuse University last month. One of the students reached out to me on Instagram. He was connected with the university Hillel on campus. And when I responded, he was like, I can't believe you responded. Well, I'm a real person just like you, and I believe everyone deserves the respect. So reach out to me, follow me on Instagram to see what's next. Yeah.
I think that's a great point of reaching out, because I think one of the challenges is people are afraid of what's going to happen, or afraid of rejection. And when you talk to most of the athletes that we interview and that are involved, they want to give back to their communities. They want to help, and they want to take their success and experience and allow others to follow in that footstep. So it's great that you're doing that. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. I know there's hours and hours we could go, and we'll have a follow-up chance to get you on our podcasts, but we appreciate you taking time to jump in with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
So just to verify everybody, Ryan Lavarnway, Major League Baseball and Olympian, also the focal point of a pretty cool documentary about baseball. Guys, my name is Kayla Brad. I'm here today with Roy Kessel. Roy, do us a favor, close us out.
Thanks, Kayla. It's great to be here with everyone at Radio Row at Super Bowl 56. We're excited that Ryan was able to come in and join with us. Special treat. And we really respect the work as soon as I heard the name and got an opportunity to have you join us and talk about the Heading Home documentary and Israel baseball and all of your accomplishments. Get that World Series ring in there. And thank you so much to you, to all of our viewers and listeners. We appreciate you taking the time to come on with us today. This is Roy Kessel signing off with Caleb Bradham for the Sports Philanthropy Network. Please remember to live generously.
Thanks, Ryan.